Hey guys, what is going on? Anthony here with Pistons Talk. Hope you guys are having a great Monday so far. Can't say I've done a reaction video probably since summer. I did a lot last off season, excuse me, because there was just so much going on. We didn't have a coach, we didn't have a front office, didn't really know who the Pistons were going to select with their 5th overall pick. Don't have to worry about that this offseason. Don't have a draft pick, have a coach, and have a competent front office. So offseason content might be a little bit bleak over here. But why we're talking today, why we're doing a reaction video today is I was scrolling the timeline, and obviously my whole timeline right now is Tim Hardaway Jr. Was he fouled? Was he not? And also what kind of trades the Pistons may or may not make this offseason. And this is a player that I think is very, very polarizing with the Detroit Pistons community, both positively and negatively. And it's Zion Williamson. Now, we're going to talk a little bit later in the podcast. We have Zarek coming on at 7 o'clock today about the Pelicans and Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver and that dynamic. But one of the things that I think a lot of people have been talking about since Joe Dumars did get the job in New Orleans is what happens with that roster, what happens with that core, and what happens with Zion Williamson. And I think a lot of people are looking at him and what could possibly happen. Now, Bleacher Report did come up with the mock trade. We're going to react to this mock trade with you guys. So let's go over to that trade, and we'll read their explanation why they have these players involved in a Detroit Pistons, New Orleans Pelicans, Zion Williamson, 4 said players in this trade. So let's go over to that trade and go check it out. Okay, this is the trade over at BleacherReport.com. If you guys do want to read the article, I will link it down in the description below as you're watching this video. Maybe you want to go read it and check it out yourself. So here's the mock trade. Pistons would receive Zion Williamson. The Pelicans would receive Jaden Ivey, Tobias Harris, a 2027 first-round pick, top 5 protected, a 2027 second-round pick, and a 2027 second-round pick via Milwaukee Bucks. So let's break this down. So Jaden Ivey, Tobias Harris, 1 future first with top 5 protections, and 2 second-round picks for Zion Williamson. So obviously you're throwing in Tobias Harris to make the money work. You're throwing in a Jaden Ivey because the Pelicans probably want a young prospect. I don't really know how a Jaden Ivey, DeJounte Murray, Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins core would work for the Pelicans, but I guess you want a young prospect. The future first, now that the Pistons can trade, you're trading a first-round pick that's 2 years out with top 5 protections, and 2027 seconds. You know, they're pretty obtainable, especially in the summer and come draft time. So that's the trade at its surface. Now, Bleacher Report gives their explanation of why they think the Pistons would do it, and it says the Pistons should be aggressive in improving the team this summer, coming off 44 wins and a trip to the playoffs. Cade Cunningham looks like a number 1 option. Although no other healthy player starters average more than 13.7 points per game, Cade Cunningham needs a number 2 option, someone he can feed the ball on a regular basis and help cut down the amount of times he's double teamed. Williamson has perhaps the highest potential of any trade target that may become available at the age of 24 and can still help grow with a young core of Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, and Ron Holland. So that's their explanation of why they think the Pistons might do it. And they do make a compelling argument. And I think that's something that I've talked with you guys on the podcast about. A lot of you guys have brought up who's going to be that number 2 option next to Cade Cunningham. Me personally, being a little bit more positive and a little bit more optimistic, I think it can be Jaden Ivey. And maybe I'm crazy, but I felt like this season, Jaden Ivey was playing some of the best ball of his career before he did get hurt in Orlando. As you guys know, Cole Anthony kind of dove at his leg and snapped it. And he's been out ever since. He's just now getting back to basketball activities and it probably won't really do any type of 5v5 workouts until like May, if we're being honest. But I always felt that this season, Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, I had a lot of the questions that I had going through the off seasons were answered because I felt like this was a backcourt that was growing and learning and developing. Both of Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey had game winners this year. They both had games where they won the Pistons that game. Jaden Ivey was having a career year from three, shot over 40% from three. And, defensively, I thought over the past two seasons, he's gotten marginally better. Not saying that he's a lockdown defender by any means. I still think there are areas for him to improve as a defender. But as being a shooting guard next to Cade Cunningham, I really think it's a very intriguing backcourt, and it has a chance and the potential to be very special if you're patient with it. But with this mock trade, they do involve Jaden Ivey, and I get why they would involve Jaden Ivey. Pelicans don't want to give Zion away from free. They probably want a prospect. You throw Tobias in there. As I mentioned at the top of this video, for the money to kind of work, because Zion is on a bigger contract. Look at his contract in a minute. And you're also throwing in a future first. It's 2 years out and some seconds. So, like, on paper, I can understand where Bleacher Report is coming from. I just kind of disagree with it. I mentioned Zion Williamson's contract, and obviously you guys know he did get paid by the Pelicans, and he's still under contract until 2028, 2029. So going into next season, he's set to make $39 million in 25-26, $42 million in 26-27. In the last year of his contract, he's set to make $44.8 million. Now his contract is really weird because there are some contract notes here. So for the 25-26 season, he had some non-guarantees and full guarantees, and it honestly kind of depends on how much games he plays and how much he weighs. He's got to weigh less than 295 pounds, which is, I've actually never seen a contract like that in my life, but I did want to kind of just touch on the contract a little bit with you guys. Signed a 5-year, $175 million contract, and he's locked up for the next couple of seasons. But, like, that's the thing with him is, like, we never really questioned the talent. It's just the availability. And if we kind of look at just the games played throughout his young NBA career, he started off only playing 24 games when he got drafted as a rookie. Very next season, he plays 61 games in 21-22. He didn't play at all. He was injured all season. Comes back the very next season, only plays 29. 23-24. Last season, he played 70, which is the most he's ever played in his career. But this season, again, injuries, overweight, distractions, who knows what it is. He only played 30. So you're either getting 30 games a year or 60 to 70. There's no consistency and no in between, with Zion in his young NBA career right now. And it gets to a point, though, like, if I'm a Piston fan, like, the talent is 100% there. Like, we're not questioning the talent. It's just the availability. And I think some Pistons fans, when they talk about Zion, they'll bring up a Blake Griffin. And I think it's kind of unfair to Blake because at least Blake, while he was here, he still played injured. Zion doesn't play injured. Obviously, I could see the comparables with the contract and how, like, the Pistons weren't able to get anything for a Blake because no one wanted to touch that contract. I think Zion's a little bit more desirable just because when you look at him as a player, he's only 24 years old, and maybe a change of scenery would actually help him stay a little bit healthier. I will say, though, towards the end of the season when the Pistons did get to play the Pelicans twice, I believe in March it was, or even April, Zion did look a lot thinner. He looked like he was in better shape. But again, he fell on his back, only got to play 30 games out of an 82-game schedule. It's not great. I think it's a really big gamble for whatever team, not just the Pistons. Like, honestly, like, if you're a team right now and you're looking to improve and you look at a Zion Williamson that's 24 years old, there's so much risk because you don't know if you're going to get 60 to 70 games a year or 25 to possibly 40 games a year. And the guy's on a rookie scaled max contract, and he's going to take up a bulk of your cap space if you are going to trade for him. This was a video that was requested. A couple of you guys tagged me on Twitter saying if this is a possibility. I'll give you guys my quick thoughts on this. You have to remember who the Detroit Pistons brought in the front office. So you have Trajan Langdon, who was down in New Orleans with David Griffin and Zion while he was drafted and while he was not currently available to play. So Trajan Langdon, new president of basketball operations. There's that. You have Fred Vincent, assistant shooting coach. He was also down there in New Orleans. Michael Blackstone, cap space guy, works in the front office with Trajan Langdon. So you have 3 Pelicans guys that know Zion Williamson's pretty damn well, and whether or not they would be interested in trying to bring him here to Detroit. Me personally, I don't think Joe Dumars tries to trade with his former team right off the gate. I just don't. And it's Troy Weaver's former team as well. So I honestly think Zion will get traded. I just don't think it's going to be to the Detroit Pistons, just for the fact that I think the Pistons this offseason are going to be very quiet. I don't really think they make a whole lot of moves outside of bringing the veterans that are on this current team back. I think you could see a Malik Beasley back. You could see a Dennis Schroeder back. Shit, you could even see a Tim Hardaway Jr. back, if I'm being honest. I think they run it back and see what they could possibly be fully healthy. Maybe they add a backup power forward to get a little bit more depth there. I don't really think a Paul Reed or even a Lindy Waters is going to return with the Detroit Pistons. But hey, crazier things could happen. But that's just my opinion on it. I don't really think the Pistons are really going to be knocking on the Pelicans' door to see what it would take to get a Zion Williamson. The talent's there. It's just the availability to me is a big question mark. And I think if I'm a Piston fan, you obviously want to upgrade in the front court, and I think the playoffs have shown that, especially with the Knicks playing double bigs with Cat and Mitchell Robinson. But I don't think Zion Williamson, to me, is the answer, because there's a chance you do trade for Zion and he's not available for the playoffs, and he's sitting on the bench watching. That's the issue with it. But let me know what you guys think of this mock trade from Bleacher Report. Again, the trade was Jaden Ivey, Tobias Harris, a 2027 top 5 protected first-round pick, and 2 seconds for Zion Williamson. I'll talk to you guys down in the comment section and see you guys later on the podcast tonight. But until next time, you guys, peace. Go Pistons.